It's tough being a teen today. I ask those of you who are over the age of 30 to think back to when you were teens. There was no social media, no iPhone at the ready to record and capture all those cringy moments. You weren't scared of being cyberbullied or being canceled or having a mistake haunt you on the web for eternity for all the world to see. And social comparison was with the person across from you or next to you. It wasn't with an airbrushed or photoshopped image of Kim Kardashian on Instagram. And your parents couldn't track you, your every movement on a GPS app. That's because we were free-range kids. We chatted on the phone, we hung out at the mall, experimenting, trying new skills, and succeeding, and even more importantly, failing in small, real-time social interactions. Back in 1986, when I went off to university, all I needed was a C average, a pulse, and to figure out that tele-reg system to select your courses. Well, now, it's an A+, a perfect resume, and heaven forbid you get one low grade in a course you should never have risked taking that can bar you from entry to a university and change your entire future. Life seemed slower and simpler then, and with some certainty, we could have dreamt of having a job, owning a house, and maybe starting a family. But these no longer feel like realistic expectations for many of today's youth. Now, think about the parenting you received. How involved and concerned were your parents about your whereabouts, grades, social life, and your future plans? I'm smiling because I know my parents were way in the back seat. And I contrast that with the involvement and concern we have in our own children's lives. I'm a parent of 2 Gen Zers, defined as those born between the years of 1997 and 2012. I have a 26-year-old daughter and a 22-year-old son. And I've been in the field for 30 years, and for nearly half of that have specialized in treating youth with anxiety-based issues. So I've had this unique vantage point of witnessing the prevalence of teen anxiety steadily increase year over year. And then that pandemic arrived, bringing along isolation, uncertainty, and loss, and the severity and prevalence of teen anxiety skyrocketed. Now, post-pandemic, we had hoped for the great return to normal, we'd see a decrease in anxiety. And sadly, that hasn't been the case, and the fallout continues. So what am I seeing on the ground in my own therapeutic practice? Well, numbers are up, stigma is down, more families are seeking help, there is an increased awareness in mental health and mental health literacy, but there's also wait lists and funding challenges. The presenting concerns continue to be anxiety-based, but the severity and prevalence is up from about 1 in 5 to now as high as 1 in 2 youth struggling with mental health. Most of those I see have been prescribed antidepressants or ADD meds, sometimes both. To be clear, I am not anti-meds. But there are cases that have been critical and beneficial for meds in a patient's progress. However, I'm concerned they are being overprescribed and not monitored closely enough for their safety and efficacy. And also, in order to fully understand and effectively treat what's going on with this generation, we must look beyond what's happening inside the teens and to the environment that surrounds them for answers. So what am I seeing? I'm also seeing the perfectionistic overachievers that look good from the outside, but inside are feeling overwhelmed and unworthy. I see socially isolated boys post-pandemic that are still in their basements avoiding social contact and numbing out on marijuana and video games, unmotivated and directionless. More cutting, binging, scratching, burning, picking, plucking, and other forms of self-harm in attempts to self-soothe. I see an unhealthy dependency on social media, iPhones in teens' rooms at night, negatively impacting their sleep, self-esteem, and essentially changing their brain. Youth are expressing concern and pessimism for the future in a world where conflict, climate change, and economic insecurity loom large. And along with the teachers, I see developmental gaps and delays in pandemic youth who missed out on critical social experiences that encouraged maturity and growth. There's an aversion to risk here. This is a generation that is late to sex, drugs, and driver's licenses. And before you think this is a good sign, there's no comfort in this, because risk-taking is a developmentally appropriate and a necessary and healthy part of adolescent development. And from the other end, I'm hearing from parents who are feeling desperate and scared. They love their children and are supporting them in so many instrumental ways with their time and resources to encourage their children's success and happiness, but they're seeing them suffer, and they don't understand or relate to what's going on inside them. Parents are often confused and frustrated by the ever-widening generation gap, struggling to keep up with technology, terminology, and the move towards progressive political correctness. Parents want to help, they're trying, but it just doesn't seem to be enough to get through. So we arrive at the why. Why is this happening, and more importantly, how can we fix it? Well, I'll give you a hint. The cause is not biological. The problem is not intrinsic to our kids. As alluded to earlier, society has experienced unprecedented change at astonishing speed, and the youth experience has changed with it, and so have the demands of parenting. So we need to adapt. As I see it, there's three main contributing factors to this anxiety generation. The first is all this uncertainty that goes along with the rapid change. The second is the increased pressure and expectations to achieve in our society, and that are also promoted and perpetuated by social media. And third, the effects of technology and social media. We know its overuse negatively impacts mental health and brain function, but it's too late. It's already crept into our lives, and now we're struggling to regulate it. I'm sorry to say, none of these three factors are going to go away anytime soon. So what can we do? And I'm looking at all your faces and, seeing some hopelessness, but I pause here to say, despite what I've presented so far, it's not all doom and gloom. It may seem that way, but it's not for our youth. By their very nature, teens are resilient, and those that I see have knowledge, awareness, and concern for what's going on in the world around them. Like the generations of the Great World Wars or the Great Depression, this one has now learned how to face tough times and are more prepared for future adversity. Also hopeful is the effective role that parents play as secure anchors in helping their children navigate these turbulent times. Let me assure you that you, not a therapist, not a teacher, not anyone else, are the most influential figure in your children's life. And one of the very best scientific predictors for how any child turns out is whether at least one adult in their lives consistently, emotionally shows up for them. In my practice, I've witnessed time and again the healing power that parents possess when they're supported to better understand and respond to their children's emotional needs. And later, today in this program, we're going to hear from Lionheart therapists offering specific parenting advice on how to do just this. Thank you.